As the new year came in and French President Emmanuel Macron spoke about Brexit, amongst other matters, his partner in European affairs, as part of the great French-German tandem which runs the European Union, Angela Merkel delivered what was possibly the most depressing New Year's address of her time as Chancellor. It comes at a time when there is strong, renewed criticism of Merkel in Germany of an intensity that perhaps there hasn't been since the worst time of the migration crisis in 2015. For example, we see news magazines like Der Spiegel, the German magazine Der Spiegel, writing about how Germany's Chancellor, that is to say Angela Merkel, has supposedly hit the wall. Bloomberg in the United States wrote shortly before the address on 8th December 2020 that Angela Merkel is losing her touch at the worst possible time. These criticisms of Merkel have also spread once more to her political party in Germany, the CDU. There are growing complaints that Merkel has lost her touch, is losing her grip, is unable to gain control of the situation, is becoming, in effect, a passive chancellor, unable to make key decisions or to make them stick. In addition, there are growing complaints that she has withdrawn deeper into the gigantic chancellery building in Berlin, that she meets less often with senior officials, and that when she does, she has been looking tired and drawn and distracted, and that her normally unflappable appearance has never looked more nervous. Why is this so? Why has all this happened? Why is Angela Merkel, in what she admitted in a New Year address, in her last year as Chancellor, looking so depressed and unsure? Well, I think there are many reasons for this, but the underlying one is the way in which Angela Merkel herself has brought about many of the problems that she is facing. She has, to be brief, outlived her time. In 2018, her party, the CDU, suffered significant losses in the parliamentary elections. Her coalition partner, the SPD, did very badly in those elections. The German people made it very clear that they wanted to see change, and they no longer thought that Merkel, who has been Chancellor now for 15 years, was the right person to deliver change. Throughout the time since 2018 until the spring of this year, her popularity and the popularity of her party, the CDU, was sliding. Then something happened which appeared to turn the situation round. That thing was the pandemic, which caused many people in Germany to look to Merkel, the long-standing chancellor, to guide them out of the crisis. And for a time, she seemed to deliver. There were lots of people saying that Merkel had been extremely successful in rolling out a very advanced test and trace system. The Germans were at the forefront in developing the Pfizer vaccine, about which we've been hearing so much about, and which, by the way, was a major topic of her New Year address. And Germany seemed to have a low case count and a low fatality rate. And people gave Merkel credit for this. They felt that she'd acted as a calm and level-headed captain of the bridge, on the bridge, at a time when the ship of state was passing through a great storm. At the same time, she was assisted by the fact that her opponent parties, the parties that oppose her in the Bundestag and elsewhere, were finding themselves in difficulties. The AfD, which has been causing her great problems and which was challenging Merkel from the right, fell into a major political crisis. It's become deeply divided within itself. It still hasn't recovered its balance, as it still struggles to decide what the right way forward is in order to make a real impression in Germany. And the other major parties in Germany, the SPD, the Greens, and the Free Democrats, none of them have looked convincing as challengers. And within her own party, it also has become increasingly clear that there is no very strong or very charismatic alternative to her. There is no sense of anyone able to take the reins of power from her and to lead Germany forward. So for a certain period in the spring and summer, there was a rally around Merkel. Her popularity rose. The popularity of her CDU-CSU coalition party grew, but that has now run its course. Because the reality about Merkel is that she has always been, at her best, more as an administrator than as a policymaker, looking to set agendas for Germany going forward. And one can see, as 2020 ended and 2021 began, that many of the problems that had been accumulating under her long rule are now coming to the fore. Firstly, where it seemed that she was handling the pandemic successfully at the start of the year, all that has unraveled. And as Der Spiegel has pointed out, the situation in Germany now looks as bad as it does everywhere else in Europe. Germans are also increasingly concerned about the fact that Germany, like everywhere else in Europe, is facing an extremely severe economic crisis. But there is more to it than this. Firstly, Merkel has taken the extraordinary decision of committing Germany to something which she always said she would never agree to. This is a certain degree of mutualization of debt, whereby Germany directly guarantees bonds on the financial money markets raised to support southern European countries that are heavily in debt and are part of the Eurozone. That is not a popular policy in Germany, just as it is not a popular policy in Germany for the European Central Bank to go forward with its various quantitative easing programs, which are also seen in Germany as a hidden form of German bailout of southern Europe. In addition, there is a growing sense that Merkel is not handling international affairs well. Firstly, she's not handling the situation in Europe itself well. She now has a bad relationship with Emmanuel Macron, who is deeply frustrated with the way in which she seems to be blocking all of his initiatives to reform and revitalize the European Union. She's also struggled to find a response to Viktor Orban in Hungary, who takes the opposite, more sovereigntist line, which she instinctively opposes. And of course, she also finds that all the major peripheral countries around the EU, which she as Germany's leader effectively leads, are now drifting away. So Britain has gone for Brexit. Russia has been antagonized and alienated, especially by her inept handling of the Navalny affair. And Turkey, under President Erdogan, looks at the moment very much of a lost cause. But there is something even more, and that is that Merkel herself has shown little idea of how to respond to these growing challenges that she, as Chancellor, and Germany and the EU is facing. What was striking about her New Year address is that she came up with no ideas at all. She spoke about the need to adapt to a globalized world. She spoke about the importance of diversity. She went out of her way to talk about a Turkish couple who had been heavily involved in developing the Pfizer vaccine in the Pfizer laboratories in Mainz. But she had no real program either for Germany or for the European Union going forward. It was very much a New Year's address looking backwards rather than forwards. And of course, she is also, as a result of her announcement some time ago that this would be the last year that she would be Chancellor, essentially a lame duck, unable any longer to command authority amongst the various political leaders in Berlin who are manoeuvring to take her place, and also unable to impose her authority on Germany's federal states, the Länder, who have consistently resisted her as she's tried to impose more lockdowns. So Merkel looks increasingly like what she is, a lame duck who has run out of ideas and energy. The problem is, this has been true in reality in Germany for a long time. It ought to have been true and understood at the time of the last parliamentary elections. This decision to keep Merkel, to support Merkel as Chancellor, that was taken by the political class in Germany in the aftermath of those elections, is the direct cause of the stagnation and drift we are seeing now. Given that this is so, and given that Merkel still has 9 months ahead of her before she finally retires in September, and given that there remains great uncertainty as to who her successor will be, one can understand why Bloomberg is complaining that Merkel has lost her touch at the worst possible time. Germany, as a country, for good historic reasons, is a country that looks always to consensus. Sometimes consensus can be debilitating. It leads to immobility and stagnation. And that is what Merkel has delivered. It is more urgent now than ever before that she should go, and her New Year's address shows why. Thank you for listening to me at this program. Please join me for my next broadcast on my channel. Please also come and support us at the Duran. Look us up on our various new platforms, BitChute, Library, Rumble, the rest. Please also support us on Subscribestar, Patreon, through PayPal, and please remember to come to our shop to buy the amazing merchandise you will find there, our famous magic mugs, our extraordinary t-shirts, our sweatshirts, our hoodies, and our hats. And I look forward to seeing you again in my next program. Thank you.